to share a little bit about our current project-based learning in which the kids in our class are creating a classroom leadership structure that ideally increases their engagement and ownership over what we do here at Macomb. In early October, my co-teacher Ari and I noticed a pattern around fidget use in our classroom. For example, they were showing their fidgets to each other and having side conversations about them in the middle of tech study. We knew that something had to change, but instead of enforcing top-down rules, we wanted to invite kids into the process to help them recognize what was happening in our room, how it was detracting from learning, and hopefully have them be key players in figuring out a solution, a plan in which they were ideally still able to use fidgets, but in ways that were adding to the learning instead of taking away from it. We then asked them what was keeping them from following those rules and what we could all do differently to help everybody use fidgets in ways that were more conducive to learning. Throughout the conversation with the class, it really morphed into a conversation about the kids and their agency, both at Macomb and other places that they were. Almost all of our students voiced that it would be easier and more enjoyable for them to follow expectations that they had had a say in creating. Because of the timing of those first few conversations happening about a month before November 5th's elections, the kids' preliminary ideas looked like wanting to hold class elections in which multiple candidates would vote for positions like class president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, etc. All of a sudden, even without the explicit go-ahead from a teacher, kids who struggled to participate in regular Macomb programming were suddenly using their free time to develop campaign slogans and platforms. This first idea, modeled directly from American electoral politics, didn't sit super well with me. I didn't want my classroom to be a space where a few kids had most of the power. I wanted to make sure that the leadership structure that we came up with had jobs and opportunities for all of the kids to make their voices heard. I decided to focus the entirety of our project time for this unit and the next to focus on class leadership and got to work on project design. This unit in exploration, we're looking at the story of Yosef and his experiences through the lens of transformation, but upon further reflection, you could also really look at this story through the lens of leadership. I had the learners take a survey that measures their current levels of engagement with and ownership over their learning. At the conclusion of this project, learners will retake the survey and I will assess how their engagement and ownership changed after participating in the project. Right now, we are going to dig deeper into the stories of a few different leaders from the Torah to study their approaches to leadership. We are going to compare and contrast their leadership styles and determine which of their strategies we want to bring into the classroom and which we might want to leave behind. Some of the learners have already named great ideas for those roles. Someone who's in charge of fidgets, someone who fills kids who may not have been there the previous day in on what's happening in the text, and somebody who reads the day's text aloud to the rest of the class. In contrast to most of the spaces that we enter in life, in the microcosm of my own classroom, I want to give my learners the freedom to figure out what's best for them in their learning, as well as the trust to implement some of that themselves.